Dave Dye. I'm an architect here. I also teach here, and also coordinate the GRCC program with Lawrence Tech, and also Ray Hinkle and Charlotte Peace help me out to coordinate this. And tonight we have Glen LeRoy, who's a fellow with the American Institute of Architects, a fellow with the American Institute of Certified Planners, but most importantly, he's Dean of the College of Architecture and Design at Lawrence Tech. And he's been Dean there, he says, for 7 years, since July of '05.
This is my seventh.
His 7th year. And before joining Lawrence Tech, he was a principal at Gould Evans Associates in Kansas City. And to give you a little bit of background, because he talks a lot about teaching, he taught for 22 years at the School of Architecture and Urban Design at the University of Kansas. He led the Kansas City Urban Design program from 1987 to 2002. You'll also find out he's highly active in the American Institute of Architects and American Planning Association, and he was president in 1986 of the American Planning Association of Kansas City, and was also elected president of the American Institute of Architects in Kansas City. So, with his academic background and with his professional background, he sees both the great opportunities and challenges for design education. Now, up there, you can see it says Lawrence Tech Theory and Practice. Well, he is well versed in theory and practice. Theory and practice embraces the dual responsibilities for contemporary design education and getting it done now. Now, the College of Architecture and Design at Lawrence Technological University, you'll also see, offers programs not only in architecture, but in interior architecture, architectural imaging, graphic design, transportation planning, and facilities management. And Glenn will talk all about that stuff this evening. The other thing I want to mention is that I've been an architect now in Michigan for 30 plus years. And I always remember running into a Lawrence Tech grad. And they were always highly regarded professional, they were always well prepared professionally. And I always felt it was a big competition between me from another school and a Lawrence Tech person. But you find out that 44% of all licensed architects in the state of Michigan hold degrees from Lawrence Tech. Some of the hallmarks of Lawrence Tech's offerings are the Detroit Urban Studio, the Paris Study Abroad, and you also have a studio in Shanghai. So they get around. And they also have a deep commitment for sustainability in design and construction. And I also would like to thank Glen LeRoy for bringing the Masters of Architecture program to West Michigan. You will find out this evening, this first 2 years of the Master of Architecture program can be done here, along with the Integrated Design Studio. And we have also, to let you know, we have a number of students from that Integrated Design Studio here tonight. So if you have questions about what's going on with that, ask them. So we'll talk about that this evening. And the first 2 years here, and then the other 3 years at Lawrence Tech in Southfield. So without further introduction, now I'd like to introduce Glenn to talk about the program at Lawrence Tech. Thank you.
Thank you, David.
No, sure.
I'm going to uncork some water here because we'll be talking for a little while. Before, when people were entering, I was asking how many of you are, high school students, but there's more people that have entered. How many of you are high school students? Okay. Hold up your hand high. Okay. How many of you are in first year here? Okay, so a good number. And then second year here, we have 7 people that are actually co-enrolled at GRCC and Lawrence Tech simultaneously. Kind of strange people over here, but we like them. Okay, so I'm going to talk mostly about Lawrence Tech, but recognize that the curriculum that's here at GRCC is the Lawrence Tech curriculum, and it's completely transferable. We do have people that I guess could start at Lawrence Tech and come here for the second year, but we don't have a lot of people that do that. Most people go through a pretty conventional way, we think. In the future, it will be that way. We have a long-standing relationship like this with Lansing. And they find it a very convenient way to stay at home for their first couple of years and then and then ultimately move over. Why would you do this, though? Well, how many of you are considering a career in architecture? Okay, most of the people here. Okay, we'll ask you about yours in a few minutes. But okay, if you want to be an architect, you need an accredited architecture degree, which in this country, by and large, is the master's degree of architecture. So you can come to a college like Grand Rapids Community College, get an architectural technology degree, but you can't be an architect with that degree. You have to go to a school of architecture, finish off your education, get the accredited degree, and there are a couple of schools that still have the bachelor's degree, still a 5-year bachelor's, or you can get at our school a 5-year master's degree, much better deal, and then get your accredited degree. So we'll talk about these sorts of things along, but really what I want to talk about with you tonight is the bigger context in which we have to look at design. Okay, there we go. I'm going to talk about the evolution of the profession. As the 21st century has come around, the profession is evolving faster than anyone can imagine. I'm talking about all design professions. I'm not just talking about architecture tonight, I'm talking about all design professions. You all, particularly in high school, you have a selection process that you're going through. You know, where do you want to go to college? What path do you want to take? So we're going to talk about that with you all. Third, we'll talk about our programs and our approaches. And then for those of you, again, in high school, or even those of you that are in first year here, talk about the knowledge that you have to have in order to approach a design education and the skills that you have to have. Now, let me start off with some concepts about architecture and design. How many of you have heard of Vitruvius? All right. The people, okay, Vitruvius, remember? What was he, a first century Roman architect maybe? Okay. He wrote, he wrote the original books, the 10 books on architecture, De Architectura. Excuse my Latin, but it's pronounced something like that. And he talked about 3 concepts, and concepts that we can still understand contemporary architecture in. Firmness, that is the strength and durability of the architecture that's produced. Commodity, which is the function and utility. Does it work? Does it function for you well? And then delight, the aesthetic beauty. And with those 3 principles, you can judge the effectiveness of an architectural composition. Firmness, commodity, and delight. You may not learn about that in high school, but you're going to, once you get into your college design history, you're going to learn about Vitruvius. On about the 15th, 16th century, you have Leonardo da Vinci. How many people heard of Leonardo da Vinci? Okay, almost everyone here. You know him from the Mona Lisa and artworks, but he was also an inventor. He was an architect. He was I guess they called him a Renaissance man because he was in the Renaissance. But he wrote about the divine proportion. That is, that the geometric relationships of elements to form composition. And then we have, I always like to pull out Andy Warhol, 20th century pop artist, the Campbell soup can artist. He was also a printmaker and a filmmaker, where he said, everyone will be famous for 15 minutes. That was his famous quote, everyone will be famous for 15 minutes. Somewhere between firmness, commodity, and delight of Vitruvius, which was 2,000 years ago, to now, you'll be famous for 15 minutes. We've had quite a transition in the way that we think about design and about life. Life is very transitory. It's changing so rapidly. The world that Vitruvius saw was a world that was lasting for a long time, and you're creating monuments that will last a long time. The way that Andy Warhol, he saw it as transitory and will ever change. And we're all about fleeting fame, fleeting existence. And it's a different way of looking at the world from the 1st century to the 21st century. Now, I want to talk about design and its bigger relationship. That all design, all art is interrelated. And, okay, who can tell me who painted that picture right there, that painting? Anyone? Anyone? Okay, go ahead. Mondrian, right. Very good. French painter. And you know, the key is Pierre Mondrian. You couldn't see it from there. But who can see the compositional similarities between that and this house? I mean, can you see? I mean, you can see the grid-like structure, the framing of the black elements with the interspersing of the primary colors. And this was done by an architect, who was actually an artist and designer. Anyone? Can anyone tell me who? Very famous house in the United States, in California, the Los Angeles area. Okay. It was done by Charles Ames. Now, that's a famous Michigan name because he designed a lot of furniture that was built on the west coast of Michigan, practiced out of Cranbrook Academy for quite a while. That's his house in California, based very much on the principles of Mondrian. So a relationship between art and architecture. Who can name this building? Go ahead. Try it. Okay, same architect. Frank Gehry. That's the Disney Concert Hall in Los Angeles. So, okay, you're good. You're right on the right architect. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's yeah.
Okay. No, it is the Disney in Los Angeles. And same architect. I mean, you know, he's the Starchitect. That's what they're called, Starchitects. And you know, another music hall before the Sydney Opera House. I mean, you can see that there's an evolving form. Now, the difference between this form that you can see, which was in its time as the Sydney Opera House, was a very much experimental, cost overruns, all that kind of stuff, to this is actually embodied in that picture above, which is a parametric design program. And parametric design is what you can do. In fact, in the automobile companies, they have a program called CATIA, which is how they get automobile shapes and forms. It's not you don't just do a clay model and then they build it from that. They actually build it in a computer using a parametric design program, without which Frank Gehry could not get those forms, and they could not build them. So there's art programs turning into engineering programs, turning into architecture, that interrelationship of elements. And this carries out through automotive design, through, I mean, the same program that creates that building creates that car, which is designed, I'm not going to ask the designer, Giugiaro Giugiaro was the name of the Italian designer that does the Porsche. Ferrari, yeah. Oh, yeah, not Ferrari, not Porsche, Ferrari. And I stand corrected and humbled by you. You know, so anyway, art and architecture and design, all aspects of them are interrelated. Just point number one. As we look at the evolution of the professions, from ancient times well into the 21st century, we evolved professionally through apprenticeship. Okay, who can tell me this painting right here in the middle? Who did that? One of those famous paintings in the world. Go ahead. Sistine Chapel, exactly. Vatican City, Sistine Chapel. And that was done by Michelangelo. And he did it first of all, he would have studied as an apprentice, but then came up through the patron, you know, he had a patron who was the Pope in this case. Other people, you know, the artists in Florence had the Medici family. So you had patrons who purchased the work of artists and architects. And there wasn't a formal professional education in architecture, certainly, until the 19th century in Paris, a school called the École des Beaux-Arts. The first architecture school in the United States was Massachusetts Institute of Technology, all late 19th century. And so before that, it was all done by apprenticeship. Frank Lloyd Wright up top. That was his school at Taliesin, and that was his proposal for Broadacre City. And all the people that worked in the school were actually called apprentices because Wright himself came up through apprenticeship. So we have moved now from this, and in less than 100 years, the first thousands of years of our existence in design and architecture was through an apprenticeship process. And in about the last 100 years, we've moved into a different form of practice and a different form of education, more formal education. Today we practice in small firms, large firms, multidisciplinary mega firms, and boutique firms. Now small firms, there's some definitions of that, but normally, I mean, we have 2/3 of all the architects in the United States practice in small firms. I'll take that back. 2/3 of all the firms are small firms. 2/3 of all the firms in the United States are small firms. 1, 2, 3, 4 people. 2/3 of all the architects in the United States today practice in large firms. So fewer large firms, but they're bigger. And most of the people practice in large firms. Now, multidisciplinary mega firms, when I was coming up through the profession, a big firm had 75 people. That was a huge firm in those days. I mean, we're talking about the Middle Ages of architecture now. When I was young, but you know, 100-person firm. That was a gigantic firm. Most of the firms, if you looked at the phone book, most of the firms and called them, they'd be 13, 14 people. That was called a medium-sized firm in those days. Now it's a small firm, but the firms are getting huge now. There's a firm, AECOM. They're going and buying all the design firms in the United States, 42,000 people working for a single design firm. Johnson Engineering has bought numerous design firms, 62,000 people. Okay, so those are the mega firms, and they're all multidisciplinary. They're buying financial consulting arms to them, they're real estate arms, landscape architecture, boom, 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 all those things. Multidisciplinary mega firms. But still you have people that say, well, I'm going to have a small firm and I'm going to practice as a boutique practice. I'll show you a couple of examples of that in a minute. The thing that's governing what we do today is licensure. The states, every state in the United States and all the territories require architects to be licensed. That means that the state empowers you to practice architecture. You can't call yourself an architect legally unless you hold one of these licenses. The way to get to your license is the accredited degree. You can't sit for the exam without the accredited degree, except for a couple of states where you can still do it, Wisconsin being one of them. They still work by apprenticeship there. That you can do it through a licensed degree, but if you don't have one, apprenticeship, 10 years. But that's the changing world that we're working on. Licensure didn't exist in a lot of places until the 20th century. But that's the cutoff line from those patrons and elite-sponsored masters to what we have today. Okay, I talked about him. Everyone know who the person to the left is? Frank Lloyd Wright. It's funny. You go anywhere in the world, everyone knows Frank Lloyd Wright. If I gave this lecture in China, and I did, and I don't speak Chinese, I had a translator, but you put up the picture, everyone knows Frank Lloyd Wright. I went into one of their design studios in China, and they had a picture of a German-American architect, Mies van der Rohe, and under it they had the caption, Frank Lloyd Wright, because that's who they know. And of course, that's Falling Water, one of his most famous buildings, if not his most famous building. By the way, my college owns the Affleck House, which is another Frank Lloyd Wright house, it's not that building, but it's loosely based on the concept of that building. Which is really kind of neat. And it's featured, if you can call it up, there's a Chrysler commercial that's coming on TV right now if you're watching the baseball playoffs. So they have Chrysler driving through Detroit. The very last scene is they're driving up to a house, and that's the Affleck House. That's the house our college owns. Who can name the architect to the right? You guys are good. It's because hardly no one, was that you guys that said it? Who else said it over here? All right. Good, because most people miss this one. Okay, what's the building down below? Probably one of his most famous buildings. Go ahead. Ronchon. It's a chapel in France. Now, what? Okay. What's the educational similarity between these two people? What's that? They both came up through apprentice. So what's their formal education? Not much. Wright had 2 years of engineering school. Le Corbusier came up as an apprentice. He was a watch case engraver turned architect. He was a Swiss watch case engraver. He was an artisan. That was the way that it used to work. And they were both, well, I don't know about Le Corbusier, but Frank Lloyd Wright was licensed as an architect, but he did it through an apprenticeship process. Which is to say that in the early 20th century, through the mid-20th century, you didn't need a formal education. You could still come up through apprenticeship. But as the century waned on, increasingly you needed the accredited degree in architecture. So, you know, I've been doing a lot of studying and research on the practice of design, and every year I go to a group called the American Institute of Architects Large Firm Roundtable. It's the 100 largest firms in the United States, and they pull together every year and they invite about 10 deans from around the country. My firm in Kansas City used to be a large firm roundtable firm, so I get invited as one of the deans, which is really cool because they pay my way and all that kind of stuff, and they go to neat places. But every year we debate what's the future of the profession, and we talk about it. And here's what they're saying, and these are the 100 biggest firms, that in the future we're going to involve many more multidisciplinary teams. It used to be in the old days the architect was doing buildings and only buildings, and they were waiting for the phone to ring, and the phone would ring and it would be the client on the end of the phone. They wouldn't have to mark it, they'd just wait for the phone to ring. But now the teams are just tremendously complex, and any building will have 16 different disciplines working on it. You know, in my days of practice, there was a person, if you're going to do a high-rise building, you had to have a curtain wall consultant, the person that details the glass wall. Why? Because they had a whole bunch of buildings that were built, and the glass was popping out into the street. You know, following the John Hancock building in Boston being the most famous one, done by, I believe it was I.M. Pei, and the glass was popping out of the building, which is not a good thing for the architect's liability. So what do? They pass on the liability to a curtain wall consultant who guarantees, or at least they have the insurance that guarantees that the glass is going to stay in. That's what it's become today. It's passing on of liability to people and passing on expertise to people in a multidisciplinary design team. And great firm coalitions. You see very few big projects that are done by I mean, two firms that have perfect capability of doing the job, but they team together because they think they have a better chance of getting it if the firms team together. Quite often you'll have a local architect of record and an international design firm that will join them. Great coalitions of firms. Individual expertise. The individual expertise is always prized. We actually are taught as generalists as architects, but we practice in specialties. So for those of you that are interested in architecture, you don't have to think of it now, but eventually you'll be a specialist in something. The only people that are generalists now are the people working in very small firms. But working in very small firms and doing housing and small commercial is actually a specialty. Because you're not doing big hospitals, you're not doing large-scale educational buildings, you're doing houses and small commercial. That's your specialty. So people generally practice in specialties now. Increasingly, practice is global. The firms that have come out of the recession, and we're finding many more jobs opening up in architecture, in the country right now. Everyone's actually billings this year in architecture are up from last year, which is a good sign. It means that we may have hit bottom, we're coming back up, and the whole construction industry has been down for 3 years. But we find signs are, for those of you that are young and coming in the profession, we're finding signs that by the time that you graduate that things are going to be a lot easier. Although I'll say this, that 87% of all of our graduates last year got jobs, which is that's a good number. That's a good high number. Now, years ago, there'd be a lot of demand and they'd have 2 or 3 offers. Now they're getting a job somewhere in the profession, but they're getting a job, okay? Good sign. Good sign. But the truth of the matter is that the big firms that are making it well are all practicing in mainly two places, China and the Middle East. And you're finding a lot of Western firms that are sustaining their practice, the profitability of their practice, by practicing in those two places. That's where the money is right now, both oil and people. and China, it's predicted that China's gross national product will, in the next couple of decades, surpass ours in the United States. So if you're going to be practicing in the world of the 21st century, you're going to be practicing globally. 75% of the population in the world now is urban, living in cities. And more than 75% of the work that you'll be doing is in cities. So you really have to know something about cities. And lastly, you have to be very agile. The career that you embark on, it may not be the career that you end up with. That you'll change and reframe your career several times over during your career, which, number one, means that you have to approach it with some agility. You can't be locked into any one thing. But life is always interesting because you're always changing and getting new challenges. What they said at the Large Firm Roundtable is that the very nature of design will be redefined. They're saying in the future, as we come out of this recession, we're going to be working with clients, and the product of our work may not be a building. Now, these are architects saying that. The product of our work may not be a building. Our solution may be for that client, we're going to do a lot of work with them to figure out how they don't have to do a building. Now, that doesn't sound like the architecture that I was trained in, but it's all about client service now and getting to the right solution, not necessarily the building solution. Well, this is one of our graduates, Dan Winey. And he's one of our alums from, not last year, longer than that. You can see his picture down there. And this is Shanghai, and this is the building that he is doing now. It's the Shanghai Tower. Someone told him when he was in school that, you work hard and you may do the tallest building in the world someday, and he didn't make it. This is only going to be the second tallest building in the world when it's finished. What's that?
Adrian Smith did the other one.
Anyway, he has just been named the managing principal. I have to change that title. He is actually the CEO of Gensler, which is the largest pure design firm in the world today. He's one of our graduates. He actually controls in the firm the entire Pacific Rim, which is everything from San Francisco all the way around to South America and to Asia, Hong Kong, Shanghai, Singapore, Tokyo, wherever Gensler's offices are. That's his territory, but he's also CEO of the whole firm. About 6,000 people in that firm. And when we compare it, pure design firm, that means that they don't have any engineers working in the firm. Everyone's a designer in the firm. So he told me that when they were interviewing for this job, and this was the plum job in the world the year they got it, the last two standing in this competition were he and Norman Foster, a very famous British architect. That the question that defined the difference between the two firms was, they said, tell us how you are going to keep this job, because the Chinese said, time is money to us, we need to get this project done fast. How are you going to keep the job in design and production 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, using your international network of firms? And Foster didn't have the answer. Gensler had the answer. We're going to move the project from our firm in Shanghai to our office in London to our office in San Francisco and back to Shanghai every day using electronic media. So the project is in design and production 24/7 using their electronic network. Whole new way of practice. Whole new way of digital practice. And this is a far cry from Michelangelo sitting in the Sistine Chapel painting the ceiling with a paintbrush while the paint drips in his eye, right? So that's the massive amount of change with design and architecture that we've seen. Completely different world. When I first started studying, and I graduated in the early 1970s, we didn't have computers. We drew by hand. And when you wanted to change your drawings, the client would call and say, can you change the drawings? You'd go pull them out of the drawer. You'd use a little thing called an electric eraser. You'd erase it. You'd send it out to the printer. You'd mail it out to the person. They'd get it 4 days later, and they'd be really happy. Now they want it in 14 minutes. They want the changes done in 14 minutes, submitted to them digitally. That's the difference. This is Deidre Jimenez, another one of our graduates. And she's operations principal for Jacobs, which is that other firm, 62,000 people in the firm. And she's an architect and interior architect. And anyone that comes through our program, I mean, if you come through the program here at GRCC, you actually have a choice. You can be an architect, an interior architect, because the curriculum in the first 2 years with us is virtually the same. A little bit easier math for the interior architecture. That's the only difference. So take the harder math and then you're completely flexible. Or you can be both. We do dual degrees. And what we're finding is in order to be a specialist, many times people want to have those dual degrees. So we do architecture and interior architecture, construction management, graphic design, any numbers of programs. We even have an evolving one in architecture and media communications, which is film, video and film. And because we're finding that many of the firms out there are actually using media and film to both sell their work and to market the job and to sell the job after they've designed it. So, but her expertise is actually in interior architecture and architecture. Victor Soroki, another one of our graduates, he's on our board of trustees. He practices in a small boutique practice in Birmingham, Michigan. 14 people in the firm. Never wants to get any bigger. Why? Because he says with 14 people, we can control the design more effectively. You know, they want to have the old kind of, the kind of firm where everyone's into the design. But he practices primarily in boutique situations, boutique restaurants, boutique hotels, that sort of thing. And he's very happy with that practice, and even through the recession, has grown the practice. Doesn't grow it big. Big growth for him is one person, because he only has a 14-person firm. Okay, so this is for your high school students out there, okay? Because the people that are here at GRCC have already made up your mind, I think. But for your high school people, you have an important decision to make. How do you go about selecting a college? And for you people in GRCC, how do you decide which college you want to go to after you finish here? So the thing that you have to know is that colleges are not at all alike. There are, in fact, in the architecture world, 4 different types of college. And so you have to choose the one that's right for you. Now, by far the biggest group of colleges, and it's over 60% of all the colleges in the United States of architecture, there's 114 schools of architecture in the United States, over 60% of them are theory and research schools. You went to,
Theory and Research School,
which is known as University of Michigan, a theory and research school. Clearly one of the best theory and research schools in the United States. You have you have Berkeley, you have theory and research schools. They're known for that. And they're prized for that. So you see some of them up there, you know, University of Michigan, Minnesota, California, Berkeley, Harvard, and then the list goes on and on. There's over 60 of them. Primarily they're state schools and Ivy League schools. But why state schools? I mean, you would think that state schools, wouldn't they deal with the general architecture, the general education within the state? Shouldn't they be doing the general education for everyone? Well, used to be that way. When you went, it was a practice school. It was a practice school. Where'd you go? Same school. Was it practice school? It did a turn by then, right? Okay. Okay. Here's what happened about 30 years ago or so. If you would have asked the schools, how much of the tuition, how much does it, what percentage of educating a student is paid for by the state? And at that time, around the country, it had been 60 to 80%. The rest of it is picked up by tuition, philanthropy, and all those sorts of things. I was at the large firm roundtable 2 years ago, and I said, I'm just curious. And I had about 10 deans at the table with me, and I was one of only 2 or 3 private school deans. So I asked all the public deans, Well, how much of your tuition is picked up by the state? The average was 12 to 15%. So states have been cutting budgets recently. Where do they cut it from? They cut it primarily from higher education, which means that two ways of doing it. Number one, state schools have to raise tuition, and they've been doing it. Number two is they have to get more philanthropy, and they're doing it. Three is they have to do more funded research. And research coffers, I mean, you've heard of the term Research One University. These are universities that drive a lot of their budget through research. And the way that they do it is they get researchers that can go after funded research projects, primarily PhDs, because that's what it takes to get the research grant in the first place. And they're people that have never practiced in their profession. If you're in an architecture school, you probably never practiced architecture. You have your PhD, you're a researcher. And you go into the school, you work with graduate students who then teach the undergraduate students. They haven't had any practice either because they're still in school. And so you're having a theory school begetting theorists. And they teach what they know, which is theory and research. And so that's how the schools end up primarily as theory and research schools, and they're turning out researchers. So if you want to go to a school that will get you into research, if you want to teach in a Research One university, if you want to write about architecture, if you want to do research about architecture, that's the school for you. Much better school than we are, if that's what you want to do. Let me just tell you, there are very few jobs in that area, though. There are very few jobs in theory and research. Far fewer jobs than in practice. About 30% of the schools are practice schools. Used to be that 90% were practice schools. 30% are now practice schools. And the job of a practice school is to prepare people for employment in the job market. To prepare people who are practicing architects, who can get licensed in architecture or interior architecture or any of our fields, right? David was talking about theory and practice. Well, yes, we teach theory because you have to know theory, but our second name is practice. You have to know practice if you want to actually do something in terms of changing that world. Not just writing about it, but actually being a practicing architect. And I'm not saying that, by the way, that people coming out of theory schools can't practice. Many of them do, but it's a longer road to get there. It's just they have to learn about practice after they get their job in the profession, and they start off behind people that come out of the practice schools. So these are our peer schools, and you can see Pratt Institute, Boston Architectural College, Drexel, New York Institute of Technology, and University of Southern California. You say, well, wait a minute, I got you now, University of Southern California, that's a public school. No, it isn't, it's a private school. It just has the state's name in it. Great football team, though. Better football team than any of these up here. But you know, we proudly are in the practice school category. Now, how do you identify a practice school? If you're looking around, look at the faculty. Where you look at the theory school, almost every one of the faculty is a PhD, and a high number of full-time faculty versus adjunct faculty. If you go to the practice schools, you'll have your cadre of PhDs that are the theorists and the historians and those sorts of people, and then you'll have a bunch of practicing full-time faculty, and then you'll have a much larger group of practicing adjunct faculty, so that the people that are teaching you are actually people that are coming from their office where they're practicing, they're teaching you, and then they're going back to their office. And that's the major difference, that the people that are teaching you are in practice. You have a couple of other schools, art emphasis schools. Well, Kendall would be an art emphasis school. What? They don't have an accredited. No, they don't have an accredited degree, but they're trying to form a Master of Architecture, right? It will be an art emphasis master's, because that's what they do. But talk about Savannah College of Art and Design, or Rhode Island, Parsons, Cranbrook doesn't have an accredited degree, but they have a Master of Architecture that's not accredited. Art emphasis. Yeah. And what they learn is the form making, none of the technology integration or anything like that. It's about making form. And you have the niche theory schools. Guess what they teach at Frank Lloyd Wright School of Architecture? Guess what they teach? Anyone hazard a guess? Frank Lloyd Wright, that's what they teach, yeah. IIT, not too far from here in Chicago. Guess what they teach? The Mies van der Rohe. You know, their founding dean was Mies van der Rohe, and they still adhere to the gospel of Mies van der Rohe. We have students every year that try to transfer to us. They say, we never knew it was so much Mies van der Rohe, you know. And if you want to study Mies, you belong at ITT. No, not ITT, IIT. The big difference there. You know, if you want to study Frank Lloyd Wright, the best place is the Frank Lloyd Wright School of Architecture. About 25 students in a master's program there. University of Miami, they teach something called New Urbanism. That's their specialty. And that has to do with the person that's the dean and brought that there. University of Notre Dame, not too far from here. What do they teach? They teach classical architecture, classicism, classical design, not modern design, classical design. If you want to know about classical design, you go to Notre Dame. So you can see that in the array of schools, they're all really different. They come in categories, but every school is unique. But when you categorize them, you have to decide what you want to do. It's all about you and what you want to do in your life and career. If you want to practice architecture as your primary concern, you really do belong in a practice school. We may or may not be right for you. But if you want to practice, we are a right school for you. Not a right W-R-I-G-H-T, but a right R-I-G-H-T. Okay, these are the programs that we offer. And David was suggesting that we offer more than just architecture, and we do. We offer a range. By the way, this is part of that multidisciplinary education. We want to expose you from day one to multidisciplinary education. All of our students start in the same program. Doesn't matter whether you're studying architecture or transportation design, the design of automobiles, you're in the same studios. And there's the same trunk of the tree and you branch off. By the time you hit third year, you're in your own program. But in the first 2 years, you're in the same design program, more or less, with a few little things. But architecture, interior architecture, imaging, which is graphic design and digital arts. Digital arts is about to change to something called interaction design. I'll explain the difference in a few minutes. Game art, that's the design of video games. Transportation design, industrial design, and architectural engineering. We have dual degrees between architecture and interior architecture, graphic design, digital arts, and architectural engineering. So you can get degrees multiple fields. That's part of that specialization. Multidisciplinary design schools. There are some design schools that are just singular, like an architecture school. We believe that you have a much richer environment for learning in a multidisciplinary school. So in architecture and its related fields, the degree that we're really interested in talking about is the Master of Architecture. For those of you that come through Grand Rapids Community College, you're going to do 2 years here. You're going to transfer to us, and you're going to be in a master's program. So it's a 2 plus 3. You'll be in the master's program. And all you have to do is keep your grade point average high enough to get into the 5th year, which is a 3.0. And if you don't do that, you can still get our Bachelor of Science. You'll graduate with a degree. And that's after 4 years. That's a 2 plus 2. If you choose to go to a different graduate school, if you say, well, listen, I've been through a practice school. I want to go to a theory school. We have a lot of people that in their last year they'll go to Michigan, or we have people that go to Harvard, and they do very well in those schools. Michigan says, keep on sending us your students. And I said, well, we'd like to keep a few of them here too, and we do. But you know, this can be your choice. You can opt out of the master's by choosing the bachelor's, in other words. Master of Urban Design, which is a specialty area, combines urban planning and architecture. And then the Bachelor of Architecture Studies, for those people, and I don't think it would be many people here, but those people that want to do a more liberal arts-based architectural education, then go off to study in some other area. If you want to be a lawyer, and a real estate lawyer, or if you want to be a real estate developer or something like that, and you don't want to be an architect, you just want knowledge of architecture because you're going to be dealing with it, that would be a good program for you. Whoops, just messed up there. Interior architecture and interior design. Interior architecture is our undergraduate program. It is the accredited degree. So the Bachelor of Interior Architecture qualifies you for the it's a CITA accredited degree, and it qualifies you for the licensing exam, the NCIDQ exam. And that's the important thing. If you're going to go to a non-accredited school, you're not going to easily qualify for that exam. It depends on how the state interprets it that you're going to be licensed in. But you want to always go to an accredited school. Our architecture is NAAB. Our interior architecture is both CITA and NASED, which is Fine Arts accredited. And that is the accredited degree. The interior design degree is more of a finishing school for people that want to teach, for example, in interior design, or people that want to practice in a specialty area. Imaging graphic design. Graphic design is two-dimensional art, like you see in journalism, newspapers, magazines, those sorts of things. Web-based, not in motion. We're forming a program in environmental graphics now that combines architecture and graphics. It's the signage and wayfinding associated with buildings. That's a master's degree program. Imaging and digital arts, that's art in motion. So that would be computer animations and that sort of thing. In addition to that, an offshoot of that is game art. That is the theming and story development in computer games. And then we've related that program to a game design program in arts and sciences where they do the computer coding. So you can actually learn both aspects of it. We're finding there's a growing demand in the gaming, not the gaming industry, that would be like gambling, but in the art of computer games, there's a growing need for that. In fact, including the movie industry, which is hiring animators from the digital design program as well as game artists. Transportation design, the design of all kinds of vehicles. Automobiles are the center point, but we like to say it's anything from tennis shoes to airplanes and everything in between. And we've just also incorporated an industrial design program to that. That's the design of products. So multidisciplinary design school, all this happening in one school. And the kind of creative synergy among these disciplines really drives the nature of the school and adds a lot of enthusiasm, excitement, and interplay. Architectural engineering, the design of building systems, where the architect is actually the orchestrator of the building as it's going together. The architectural engineer is the person that designs the systems, the structural systems, the mechanical systems, the lighting systems, all of those things that go within the building. They work in teams with the architects. Interesting thing about this is that the architectural engineering curriculum, a little bit tougher math, but by and large the first 2 years are very close to our architectural program. They do architecture first before they go into engineering. So if you're interested in that, take the toughest math you can find here that correlates to engineering calculus and engineering physics. And if you're already in the 2 years in the programs, too late for that. But we'll think about this one in the future here. So the other thing that we do, and this gets back to the changes in the profession, at Lawrence Tech we have what's called a leadership portfolio. Every student in their 4th year has to prepare a portfolio showing how they have gotten involved in leadership activities. We have further defined that in the College of Architecture and Design, is that a leader must be involved in teamwork. You have to learn how to lead teams, and you have to learn how to work within teams. I was a principal in a firm, and I had a project manager that worked for me, but when I was working on their project, I worked for them. So you have to learn how to lead and follow. And so I had someone that I hired that was telling me how many hours I could spend on a project. But that's what we do. You have to learn how to lead teams, and you have to learn how to be a team member. The urban experience, we talked about that 75% of the people in the world being urban. All of our graduates have to have an urban experience. We have numerous ways you can do it. We have a Detroit studio. We have studios in Paris. We have studios in Shanghai. We've done studios in Beijing. We have all kinds of things that you can demonstrate urban experience. Cross-cultural experience. In global practice, you have to learn to work with people that are not like you. And you know, the whole culture, the whole Chinese culture is different than our culture. I mean, the customs of how you greet each other, how you present business cards, everything is different. And the business dealings of contracts, all different. You know, don't go in and, you know, here we hammer out the deal in the first meeting. In China, it's going to take 3 or 4 meetings to get to know them. It's all about that kind of trust relationship that you have to experience. We want people coming out of our program to know something about how to deal with other cultures. Now, if you're if you are a person in the Detroit area, that may be I'm working with an ethnic neighborhood in the Detroit area that's not my own, right? You don't have to go to another country, but it could also be going to the Paris studio or to the Shanghai studio or whatever. So very good possibilities, but we want everyone to have cross-cultural experience. The last one is service learning. You must learn how to deal with the things that are bigger than yourself, with helping people, with getting involved with not-for-profit organizations. I know in my marketing within my firm, much of the work that I brought in was because I was engaged on boards of directors with not-for-profit organizations. And you meet a lot of people, you network with a lot of people, but also you're helping people. And so the ability to help people that are in need, to solve problems working with not-for-profits, but also establishing a business network because of your helping other people. They all work hand in hand. You're educating the complete person, not a person that can only do business or only do not-for-profit work, but people that can operate in many spheres. This is what we do have in terms of that global approach. We've actually, at our graduate level, we have a concentration that deals with global practice, and we will set people up with an internship overseas. And you know, we have someone in Brazil right now, Shanghai, Costa Rica, Abu Dhabi. You know, so you know, if you want to see the world, this is a 6-month job in a firm somewhere in the world. You have to be accepted into that one. You can't just choose it. You have to have a great portfolio to be accepted by one of those firms. Paris studios, summer travel abroad. We have a studio in Florence. We have joint studios both in China and Korea. From time to time in Korea, but every year in the summer we do one. We've done exhibitions. Our students have exhibited abroad. And we also have a relationship with a college named Harlexton College in England. If you want to do a semester abroad and study in a place that looks sort of like Hogwarts, that's what Harlexton College is. It's a manor about an hour outside of England by train. Really, it's not the kind of train from Harry Potter. It's actually a high-speed train that comes out of London. But it really is a neat place, and I got to stay there, and it's like Hogwarts. Not the moving pictures and everything, but it's one of the old English manors. You know, study at a place that has a distinguished faculty who've been out there publishing and getting awards and giving papers around the country and around the world, that they're good mentors for you because they're actively involved in the community. So that's our faculty. If you're going to a school, go to a school where you will win awards. Nothing better than applying for a job with a slew of awards in your resume. And so every year we have students that win 2 or 3, not the same student, but we have 2 or 3 national award winners with national competitions from our school, and some people that are placing 2nd and 3rd. This is big stuff when you go out for a job, because when you go out for that job, you want to differentiate yourself from your competition, the other students that are graduating that year. Everyone wants to hire leaders. They want to hire involved and engaged students when they graduate. Think of this. When I was in my firm, we would get towards the end of the recruiting year for us, and we always wanted to hire 2 or 3 young people coming out of school. We had about 250 people in my firm. And we would get, starting around January, 10, 15, 20 applications. By February, this is a week, by the way. By February, we'd start getting 50 a week. By March, we'd get 150 a week. By April, we'd get 300 a week. And, you know, so let's say there's 1,000, no, more than that, 2,000 applications that come in, and you're competing against these people. How do you differentiate yourself? And there's all kinds of techniques to do this. But if you're going to have the same degree as everybody else, let's say it's a Master of Architecture, and you have the same kind of coursework, everyone has a decent portfolio. I can look at the portfolio, look at the resume, and get it down to maybe 150. Okay, we're offering 3 jobs. Other firms are offering jobs, so there's jobs out there, but I'm offering 3. How do I get to the final 10 that I want to interview? I look at everything else you've done. Have you been a leader? Have you been active in student organizations? Have you worked with not-for-profit organizations? Have you served people bigger than yourself? Have you traveled abroad? Have you studied abroad? All those things get you down to that list of the most desirable people that we're going to interview and ultimately hire. Because the firms that are good, the firms that are sound want leaders. It's as simple as that. So become a leader and go to a place that offers you the ability to lead. This is not an architect, this is a transportation design student. We just graduated our first transportation design graduates this year. We had 4 in our first class. We started with 6, we ended with 4. We have about 12 to 15 that come in a year, and the profession told us never get above 15 because we can't absorb that many. It's a very small, elite kind of profession. She came to us, Taylor came to us at 17 years old, right out of high school. She went to our summer camp and earned a scholarship, partial scholarship to come. During her time, she grew really into our first transportation design superstar. This project that you see, Ford challenged our students to come up with an idea for a new Paris car. So she came up with this idea of doing a stackable car at metro stations, that someone could come off the metro, they could rent a car, drive out to the countryside and return to any metro station in the system. And she blogged about it, and she was published in several magazines in Paris. Her ideas were published. She was a junior when that happened. She was highly sought after by the automotive companies, had offers from all the U.S. companies, and also had an offer from Peugeot. Today, she's a designer at Peugeot. Lives in Paris, and she just wrote us that every 2 weeks, she gets to make a presentation to the CEO of Peugeot. She's 21 years old. And I think this is something about the opportunities of leadership that are offered. The opportunities of excellence, the opportunities to win awards, the opportunities to make something out of yourself when you're in school. Look for an education that does that for you. And I mean, she was offered salaries that, you know, young students coming out of 21 can't even imagine. And you can put yourself in a position like that within your profession. Well, you can imagine it, but for your high school students, you need certain skills if you're going to undertake a design education. For those of you that are here, you need these skills. If you don't have them, be working on them. But art is a really important skill. The ability to draw like this is far more important right now for you high school students than the ability to draw on a computer like this. Design happens with a very free-flowing exchange of ideas, overlaying things on tracing paper, freehand drawing. So if you need to do something, draw from life. Draw figures, draw still life, draw landscape, but draw from life. Draw what you can observe. Don't copy it out of a magazine. Don't copy it. Don't trace it from a photograph. Draw from life. And what we look for, and we by the way, we give portfolio-based scholarships to kids coming out of high school. I'm not trying to recruit you away from GRCC, but for kids coming out from high school, if you're going to earn a scholarship from us, we'll enhance your scholarship several $1,000s if you have a leading portfolio. The top 5 portfolios that are applied to us. We don't require portfolio for many of our majors, but for the ones that don't require portfolios, for the top 5, we'll give extra scholarship money. We think art is that important, the ability to have this artistic flair. From computers, everyone needs to know the whole Word, Excel, PowerPoint stuff. You need to know the Microsoft suite. For architecture and interior architecture students, coming out of high school, you should know AutoCAD. At our curriculum, we're going to stop teaching AutoCAD in school because most students know it already, so why should we teach something that's redundant to what they already know? If you don't know it, go get it somewhere before you come to us. Here you're gonna learn it here at GRCC if you don't know it already. But the program that you need to know is that you don't need to know coming in, but the program we teach is Revit, which is what the profession's using. Why did we come on this? Well, 6 years ago, when we went to the large firm roundtable, they said, 5 years from now, none of us are going to be using AutoCAD. We're going to be using Revit, and that's true now today in the big firms at least. Small firms are still using AutoCAD. Large firms are using primarily Revit. And we were one of the first schools in the United States that started teaching Revit because we didn't want to turn out students that were not. We started teaching Revit 5 years before the profession started using it because we knew from what they told us that when our students graduated, they were going to need the skill. So we want them to have the skill just in time. Imaging, transportation design, if anyone's interested in that, Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign, some AutoCAD's useful. Generally, we believe in a broadly educated person. So college prep is important. Now, if you go to one of the art schools, college prep may not be important. If you go to one of the art schools, they may say you never have to take another math course as long as you live. You know, you may not have to take another English course as long as you live. And not in architecture, but in the other fields, we compete against schools that say, don't go to the school that teaches you math and English. You don't need it anymore. And we believe you need it because you need to be good communicators. You need to know about history. You need to know mathematics and science. You need to know science because you're dealing with the science of structures. You're dealing with the science of mechanical systems. You need to know about these things in order to give you a good foundation to go study it in college. In math, you need to be able to come to college with the ability to take a basic college calculus course. This is not engineering calculus, but it's going to border on calculus. We call it calculus light. But that's what an architect needs. You don't need heavy engineering calculus, but you have to take some basic kind of pre-calculus and physics kind of courses. So that's if you're in high school, this is what you need. If you're in your first year, hopefully you have it. If you're in second year, you have it now, right? Everyone's saying yes. I'm going to end with this. We have students that go out on internships all the time. This is a guy got one of the very coveted jobs working for Walt Disney World in their facilities operations. So, I mean, put that one on your resume. I worked for Walt Disney World in Orlando for my internship. Very highly selective. We have an in because the head of facilities there is one of our graduates, so it's easier to get a job there for our people. But he started a blog, and he said, you know, I've really been busy with work, but I'm keeping up with all of my studies because I'm doing some online classes with Lawrence Tech. So even when people are away around the globe studying, they can still connect back with us to take some of the courses that they can't get overseas. We think that that's an important thing. But the thing that he said is that he thought that we provided the ability for him to make the transition into the real world. That is the definition to us of a practice school. That when I get out, I can hit the ground running in the profession, in my chosen profession, and it's like seamless. Everyone has a learning curve, but the learning curve coming from a practice-oriented school into the profession is a lot shorter. And that is the testament to what we offer. So, that's the world of architecture and design as I see it anyway. And I'd be happy to answer any questions. If you have any questions about the experience in this joint program where by second year you're half our student and half GRCC student, I know something about it, but I know some people that know it better than I do because they're in it. So, questions, anyone? Yes? Yeah. Yes, many. Many. We had homecoming last week and they were very active in it. Yeah. And also other organizations. A lot of parents ask, well, what about religious organizations? Yes. We have from Campus Crusade to Christ to Muslim organizations, full gamut. We have a lot of ethnic organizations, like we have a Chinese student community, we have an Indian student community, and it's not about exclusion, by the way. When we form their groups, they are expected to reach out to the rest of campus. So we have like Chinese festivals, we have Indian food festivals, and they bring their culture to the campus. Yep, other things.
Students enroll in Lawrence Tech or Grand Rapids Community College?
Okay, they start, the first year is all at Grand Rapids. The second year is they're joint enrolled, Grand Rapids and Lawrence Tech. And by the third year, they're with us at Lawrence Tech. In the fifth year, they can choose to stay with us in residence, but our entire fifth year is also online. So if they're somewhere else in the country, somewhere else in the world, they can still get the master's degree with us in the fifth year.
How does the process take place after the first year?
David.
You just went through it. So we went over in, thank you. We'll probably
Yeah, why don't you take a microphone so people can hear you?
a microphone. Thank you. We had 7 students, and we went over to Lawrence Tech in late June, and we applied to the college, and they got their student cards. They got their laptops at that time also.
I didn't even mention our laptop program.
You can-
All of our students get a laptop as part of enrollment. No extra money involved in that, along with all of the software that discipline uses. So all the architecture stuff, the AutoCAD, the Revit, and everything is on the computer. We've calculated the wholesale value of that at $15,000. The retail value is somewhere, if you tried to get it all by yourself as an individual, somewhere around $80,000.
Pricey.
It's pricey if you do it yourself, but we get good deals because we buy a lot of it, and they want to get it into educators. But all of our students get the laptop.
So they are now, what was it, 6 out of the 7 are dual enrolled. April, you're doing the Integrated Design Studio exclusively. So, and 2 years is probably a little optimistic, but but we have it set up so it could be done that way. But you may want to talk to the students individually and see how they're handling it. So, but then once you're done with an architectural design degree, which is the little brochure we handed out, and have done 2 semesters of the Integrated Design Studio, then, as Glenn has said, you'll transfer to Lawrence Tech in Southfield. But you make application when you first do the Integrated Design Studio.
We were talking a little bit at dinner, though. If you want the associate's degree, and let's say you have 1 course left,
Right.
2 courses left, you can take the course with us and then transfer it back to Grand Rapids. So you can get your associate's degree even though you may have moved on. I mean, if you have 2 courses left here, there's no reason to wait another year.
Right.
get out
Well,
of
yeah,
sequence,
I'm encouraging moving along, but
Yeah.
if you can get the degree before you leave, that's also a good idea too.
Yeah, but if you don't get the degree before you leave, there's ways of getting it after you leave if you want the associate's. It doesn't hurt if you have the Master of Architecture at that point. If for some reason you falter and you don't get the Master of Architecture, the associate's degree is really a good thing for you to have. Once you have the Master of Architecture, that's what they're primarily going to be concerned with. Although we may debate that.
Yeah, since I teach at a community college, I always encourage people to get their associates because both my sons have gotten their associates.
Yeah.
And I said, who knows? And I bumped into people in there at hardware stores, and I said, well, I almost got my associates, and then I went on to, it wasn't to Lawrence Tech, it was on to another place.
Yeah.
But I never finished there, so I have no degree.
Yeah.
So I always say, if you can, get your associates.
I would agree with that. Get the associate's degree, but don't spend a year longer than you have to do staying when you can actually transfer credits back and get it anyway. I'd say get it if you put most of the 2 years in, get it.
Right. So
Don't pass it up. We're agreeing.
We're good. So, does anybody need an explanation of this? This is the class here is the first Integrated Design Studio. This is IDS 1 and 2, and right now we're just trying to get. The reason we asked for your name is I'm trying to get a list of people, because if you are wanting to go to the Integrated Design Studio next year, there are 4 courses you need to take this year to be able to do it. There are 4 prerequisite courses, and those are AR 201 and AR 202, which are Architectural Graphics 1 and 2, and they are AT 130 2D Design and AT 150 3D Design, and you need to get those accomplished this year if you want to be ready to go to IDS, Integrated Design Studio at Lawrence Tech next year.
And I don't know whether this would happen next year, but by agreement between our 2 universities, the IDS studios, which is Integrated Design Studios, which are required in our curriculum in order to move on to the 3rd year and transfer to us, they're limited to, I think, 16 students maximum, 15 or 16 students maximum in the program.
Right. But
I mean, if you're the 17th, you're spending an extra year. So get your information in soon, in other words.
Right. Well, it's just, I'm just wanting to, right now we're thinking of next fall's classes, to tell you the truth. But keep in mind that doesn't mean if you're in high school, you still need to come into your freshman year. The integrated design studio would be on your sophomore year. Okay? But if you're in college now and you're wanting to do it in your sophomore year, those are the 4 courses you need to take.
Other questions? Yes.
What is your percentage ratio of people making it through the masters?
I mean, for people that choose to make it through the masters. I mean, there's some people that say, well, give me my Bachelor of Science, I want to take a couple of years off, and but to make it through our masters, I'm going to bet about 2/3 of our students will have adequate grade point average to make it through. They qualify for it. For those that don't, if you're up near the top of it, we may say, just go and work for a while. You know, your grade point average wasn't the most sterling, but if you go out and work in the profession, come back with a good portfolio, we're going to consider you. So sometimes we'll have people that come 5 years later and say, okay, I've matured now, look at me again, and we'll do that. But, you know, 2/3 of the people qualify with ease. You know, another 1/6 of them have some questions. Yeah. Yep. It has to be an accredited degree. There are 3 accredited degrees in architecture. The most common is the Master of Architecture. That's the one we offer. A Bachelor of Science in Architecture is not an accredited degree. The Bachelor of Architecture and Sustainability is not an accredited at
Ferris State.
At Ferris is not an accredited architecture degree. Okay, so you can't go get licensed with anything that says Bachelor of Science. You will not get a license with. Bachelor of Architecture in some schools, which is a 5-year undergraduate architecture degree, may very well be an accredited. In fact, it has the name Bachelor of Architecture. Right. It will be an accredited degree. But Bachelor of Science in anything will not be accredited. The other degree is a Doctor of Architecture. And there's only 1 or 2 programs in the whole United States that have that, and that might be an accredited degree.
It's a long way going, though.
Yeah, yeah. Get the master's first. Yes. Okay, but the question is, I'll repeat it since maybe people in the back didn't hear. Besides the accredited master's degree, what are the other requirements? Well, there's a requirement to do something called the Intern Development Program, the IDP. And that's a series of experiences that you have to document that you're going through. You can actually start your IDP in high school now. And it's, you know, I've worked for a firm and I've done such and such, and I can claim that credit. And so for those of you that even have part-time jobs, start your IDP file now.
Right.
Yeah.
I did the same. I was anytime you took a summer job, put it in there.
Yeah. Yeah,
and sort of try to get
it. But I mean, they've just put in new rules where you actually have to submit within 6 months, every 6 months, or else you lose the time. Some brand new rules. Our school has an IDP coordinator. We you know, we deal with this and try to communicate to the students. But you can actually start it if you have a job in an architectural firm doing something. You know, let's say you're working with the person that's on the construction site. You can get some of that experience that you need. That's the hardest to get, is, by the way, construction site experience. So IDP is the second thing. The third thing is the actual exam, and it's called the NCARB exam, National Council of Architectural Registration Boards, and it's a national exam. It's used both in the United States and Canada. So the neat thing about it is if you get licensed in the United States and want to practice in Canada, in Michigan, the chances of wanting to practice in Canada are actually greater than if you're down south somewhere. It's the same exam, and you can get what they call reciprocity from the United States to Canada, and Canadians can get reciprocity here. And you take that exam, and it's administered by each state individually, and each state may have additional requirements. So you're licensed by your state, not nationally. And then you have to, if you take the NCRB exam, you get an NCRB certificate, and then you can use that certificate to get licensed in numbers of states. I have a friend that's licensed in 52 states and territories.
There's one thing I wanted to clarify, and this was asked a question of me.
But you're shaking your head. By the way, she's shaking her head. I don't want to go through all this stuff, right? It's not as onerous as we've explained, by the way. Look at me. I'm normal, and I survived it, right?
There was a question that was asked of me the other day is, if I get my degree in Michigan, can I move out to California and practice and do an IDP there? Yeah, you can practice any place in the 48 states, probably in Canada too.
Except.
What's the except?
Except if I move to California and I want to be licensed in California, I have to take an additional seismic exam. So the state in California, because we don't have earthquake problems here in Michigan, but if I move to California, they consider earthquakes a significant hazard, and so you have to know more than the average architect would in terms of seismic.
We have one of the instructors from the IDP 1. Jason, you had a comment on the colon.
California license.
Right.
It's a distinction that's often misinterpreted. It's not actually seismic that they're testing you on.
Yeah. Go ahead. One of my partners took it, and he said it was seismic, but go ahead. No, that was earth-shaking news to me.
It's called the California Supplementary Exam. It's an oral exam. It's
Yes.
answered by a panel
Yes.
of your peers, supposedly, and it's about practice requirements, one of which can be seismic,
Okay.
but it's not necessarily just seismic.
Okay. Well, thank you for the clarification. He did tell me it was an oral exam, and since he's a good talker, he could get through it easily. Yes.
So the first year is all GRCC, the second year is the dual enrollment. What does that look like for the students? How do you do that? Are you going back and forth?
No.
Are you taking
Everything's here. Our studio, the Lawrence Tech studio, is on this campus.
It's upstairs, as a matter of
He
fact.
teaches it.
Yeah, Jason Colin and Dick Temple are the two
Yeah.
instructors for that.
Yeah.
They're teaching it tonight. Matter of fact, we're eating into their time. But
No, it's seamless here, but you are dual enrolled, and for the studio, you are Lawrence Tech students. For all the other courses, you're GRCC students. For the check sheet, there's a common check sheet that we use, where it shows what courses you completed. It shows the courses from both programs on the same check sheet. And then when you move to us, the check sheet just comes with you.
the funny thing is, I don't always put that check sheet in. Every time I don't put that check sheet in, that's the question I get. But what you have to keep in mind is and you can talk to the students who are doing it, you have to take a number of serious courses during the summer to be able to accomplish that. Because you're looking at, around 80 credit hours in 2 years.
Yeah.
Because you're looking at 64 credit hours plus 13, so around 77. So you've got to do some of this work in the summer, and any time you can work it in. So, and you want that little sheet, I'll show that to you. So.
Other questions? I think we've reached the end of the road here.
Okay.
Well, listen, I really want to thank you all for coming out tonight, and we're certainly available. Either David or I am available to answer any other questions that you may have, either up here, or if you just want to get my card and correspond with us, later, that would be fine. Really want to thank you all for listening,
Yeah, thank you all
and for your interest in design. And I like to end with this: why is the design profession so good? Can you imagine a job that when you get up on Monday morning you can't wait to get to because of the excitement that lies ahead for you for that week? You can imagine that? Okay, good for you. Yeah, you're doing that now? Okay, cool. Can you imagine a job in which you will create something that will outlast you? That will outlast you maybe by generations, by centuries. And you'll leave a legacy to the world. That's what design offers you. And not a lot of jobs don't offer you that. And so I've always found it to be just an exciting and exuberant kind of profession to be involved with. Hopefully you'll find that too. So thank you all.